Top 10 news stories this week. Ken Sachs Fifth Avenue latest department store closing. One more week has passed by, and with it, progressively awful updates on COVID-19 has spread over the world. The United States passed the 1 million contamination imprint, and in excess of individuals have kicked the bucket in that nation alone. It has not been a decent week. With that being stated, there was a news thing or two that offered a smidgen of expectation in this ever-compounding emergency. COVID-19 continues to command the news scene, yet it's by all account not the only thing happening at this moment. It's simply the Goliath obvious issue at hand that appreciates sitting on people. Here's some stuff that happened you may have missed, and cheerfully, it benefits incorporate news. Shopping centers in the United States were once universal, yet as of late, they have been in a consistent condition of decay. 9. Win for gun rights in New York. The US Supreme Court discharged a few significant choices this week, with one choice about the Affordable Care Act bringing about a misfortune for the pop. Equity Sonia Sotomayor gave the greater part conclusion with the accompanying proclamation. We presume that paragraph 1342 of the Affordable Care Act set up a cash commanding commitment, that Congress didn't cancel this commitment, and that solicitors may sue the government for harms in the Court of Federal Claims. Essentially, this implies the legislature owes more than $12 billion to safety net providers as per the law. The choice accompanied a 8-1 dominant part, leaving Justice Alito as the sole protester. Another choice made by the court was significant in the realm of firearm rights, however it was even more an absence of choice than all else. 8. Prime Minister Boris back to work. HUD Administrator Boris Johnson was tainted with COVID-19 a month ago, and he needed to spend about the full 6-week lockdown in self-seclusion with a portion of the time spent in serious consideration. Luckily, the PM didn't capitulate to the malady, and on Monday, he was back busy working. Johnson was for the most part missing during the lockdown timeframe, so the updates on his arrival is a sign of better things to come in the United Kingdom, as he was one of the most prominent cases in the nation beside Prince Charles, whose session with COVID-19 wasn't as serious. 7. New Zealand has eliminated COVID-19. Some uncommon uplifting news about COVID-19 came out this week on Monday, on account of a declaration made by Ashley Bloomfield, New Zealand's Director General of Health. It has been accounted for that New Zealand dispensed with the coronavirus in the nation, which isn't to state it's totally gone. What it means is that the quantity of cases has dropped so low, New Zealand has had the option to lift limitations from the country's level 4 to level 3. It's had the option to do this in view of severe contact following and other moderation efforts. 6. US DDD crashes. One of President Donald Trump's key triumphs driving into 2020 was the monetary development the nation has seen during his time as president. Truth be told, the US had a record time of development, however COVID-19 has totally wrecked it, and as the numbers turned out on Wednesday, it appeared to be clear the pattern would proceed in a descending direction. The evaluations being tossed around before the discharge were between -4% to -11%, and at long last, the GDP for the US shrank by 4.8%, which is luckily on the lower end of expectations. That's the most honed decrease since the Great Recession over 10 years back, and it concludes the longest time of monetary development in the country's history. 5. Kim Jong-un Mia Kinda. A week ago, it appeared as though the Hermetic pioneer of the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea had surrendered to a messed-up medical procedure, yet new subtleties have risen, which propose something else. In truth, the data gathered from the cryptic state is restricted, and a lot of what is being accounted for is gossip and ought to be thought about while taking other factors into consideration. Yet the news media is working with what they have accessible. In allocation to the country, Trump has gotten some information about the pioneer, whom he's boasted about having a decent connection with, and he replied with the following: "I can't let you know precisely. Indeed, I do have a generally excellent thought, however I can't discuss it now. I simply wish him well. I've had an awesome connection with Kim Jong-un." While that doesn't educate the open much regarding what the US president knows, there have been different signs that the North Korean for us to recognize annexation of West Bank territory. On Monday, the United States flagged that it was prepared to authoritatively perceive Israel's extension of involved regions in the West Bank. In doing as such, the US mentioned that the new solidarity government haggle with the Palestinians, who have been ardently restricted to the arrangement. Leader Benjamin Netanyahu has worked with President Trump to make the two-state arrangement a reality and has shown that he will proceed with the drive for additions since he has had the option to shape an administration following an arrangement made with his resistance. 3. Pentagon released UFO video. On Tuesday, the Pentagon released declassified footage of 3 UFOs. The footage was taken by US military personnel in 2007 and 2017, and the release included 3 short and grainy clips. The footage was previously leaked, and this release by the Pentagon is an official confirmation of their authenticity. What is so interesting about the footage isn't the strange aerial maneuvers, which seem unworldly, it is the fact that the release garnered very little attention from the public or media. 2. Lockdown unleashes mega unemployment in US. Consistently, the US Labor Department discharges a report, which incorporates the quantity of new joblessness claims made, and Thursday's report puts that number at 3.8 million. That number pushes the 6-week aggregate of new joblessness cases to 30.2 million. The country hasn't seen such an expansion in joblessness since the Great Depression, which saw the jobless rate ascend to 25%. While the numbers this week are high, they do show a diminishing pattern, as a week August jobless case beat out at 4.44 million. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, noticed that the current jobless rate has reached 2-fold digits, when the numbers for March are contemplated. 1. America's rich are getting richer. One of the first things to impact Americans during the COVID-19 pandemic was the immediate loss of work and income. Millions of people were suddenly fired or furloughed, as their places of employment were shut down to stop the spread of the virus. Congress acted relatively quickly in passing the CARES Act, which issued economic stimulus payments to citizens with the hope that the money would help people get through to the end of the lockdown, but some see it as too little, too late, and many people are struggling. That is true for many Americans, but according to a report from the Institute for Policy Studies, not all citizens are facing such economic hardship. The report, titled Billionaire Bonanza 2020 Wealth Windfalls, Tumbling Taxes and Pandemic Profiteers, was published on April 23, and that showed an increase in net worth for America as billionaires in excess of $282 billion over a period of just 23 days during the nationwide lockdown. The report further analyzed several billionaires' tax burdens and concluded that between 1980 and 2020, the tax obligations for billionaires in America dropped by 79%. When compared to the median household wealth, which saw an increase of less than 5% in the past 30 years, billionaires' wealth increased by 110%, which collectively accounts for $2.95 trillion. Thank God ultra-luxury department store Bergdorf Goodman isn't one of the shops shutting down in New York.